Okay, so Charlie, just to preface this the chat, I guess like we were talking about whether or not animals have rights. I suppose is the best way to put it. Um, what what rights do you think animals have or should have?
So I believe that if we're going to bring them into our society and use them for their resources, use them for their utility, I believe they deserve a right to life. And I believe if we're going to like keep them around and take their eggs, their milk, whatever it may be, that we allow them to we enable them to live a happy life. We give them, the life that they should deserve if we're forcing them to live in our society.
But if we're going to like take their milk and their eggs and things like that, wouldn't that be as though like they don't have rights?
No, not necessarily. So let's say we can use like the analogy for humans. Like us humans, we're brought into a society, right? But we're forced to pay taxes. And some may say that, that's like we're taking away, like that's against our rights, but it's for the better. It's for like furthering the society. And we could extend that to animals. They're being brought into our society, to be able to live decently, not have to live out in the wild and die.
I I feel as though like if somebody wanted to, they could make the decision to go like live off the grid and not pay taxes and not live within society and just kind of live by their own rules. And um I don't think like with animals we literally kidnap them, right? Like they don't have a choice as to we kidnap them, we put them in cages, we treat them as slaves, we train like dogs and cats and things like that, certain types of animals to do tricks or to, um, just for
So
our own
you
amusement.
so you're saying that's good.
I'm saying that,
You're making a descriptive claim.
yeah,
I
this is
don't
more
know.
just a descriptive claim right now, but uh, I suppose in order for that to be the case, we would also have to, in order for us to say that that is a moral thing, we would also have to say that, like, they just don't have rights and therefore we're able to do everything else with them.
So what you said earlier about, humans, certainly possible, but
I'm sorry, you
animals are
cut
able
out
to.
for a second. You said humans what?
Oh, sorry. You said like animals or humans would be able to live off the grid or whatever. That's true, but then they would have, none of the benefits that society gives them. But we take animals in and we give them none of those benefits.
Right? I agree,
And you
animals
think
don't get
that's
benefits.
and because you believe that for what reason? Or just because they're inferior?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in order for me to, I guess, in order for morals to apply to something, I feel as though they would have to be able to like understand my morals and be
Oh,
moral
okay.
as well, right? Like they would have to, I don't know how to word this. Like they would have to be able to like do the same to me as I'm going to, I guess,
A
reciprocate is
social
probably,
contract, yeah.
yeah, like yeah, they would have to be able to reciprocate my morals in order for me to give them any sort of moral culpability.
Sure, sure, sure. So, do you not think that we are above that in any way? That we can extend rights to those that aren't able to abide by a social contract? For example, let's say there's someone who is mentally disabled and isn't able to abide by a social contract. Should they not have rights?
Um, I don't know if it's about whether or not they should or shouldn't. Like, I suppose they do have rights, but it seems as though, like, within society, we almost, and I'm not, again, this isn't a prescriptive claim, but it seems as though we treat them almost as property. Same with, like, children. Um, like this is someone's child, therefore they're given certain rights within society. But children are also treated as slaves. Like we allow parents to pretty much um, tell them what to do, tell them when to wake up, tell them where they're going, tell them where they're not going, tell them what they're not allowed to do. Like we treat them almost as if they are property until they are of an age to where they could be morally culpable.
Okay. So, mm, so you have, it's just hard for me to go anywhere with this when I understand what like I understand everything you said, but you, any further with this, you have to say, whether you think that they ought to deserve rights or not.
Yeah, I would say probably not until they're able to be morally
I
culpable.
can
Not
hear you.
huh?
Oh,
Can
I
you?
can hear you now. You
Okay.
cut out.
Not until they're able to be morally culpable. Not until they can like reciprocate some sort of moral values. Um,
Okay, sure.
so yeah, that would be my prescriptive statement, I suppose, is that like once they once they can reciprocate societal values or morals or ethics, um, then at that
So
point,
if they're never able to, then they shouldn't have rights. For example, someone who's disabled.
um, again, I would say that those people are still going to be treated as property almost. Like, um,
Should we kill them?
I no, probably we shouldn't kill them, but we do decide like what property or like we
Oh,
allow
you're cutting
somebody.
out. I can't hear you.
Okay, let me
Oh
X
wait,
out
you're
of a
back. Yeah.
couple of things and maybe my connection's bad.
You said we shouldn't kill them.
No, I don't think we should kill them, but it does seem as though we allow somebody to say, like, you're allowed to have this property, or you're allowed to do this, or they're treated the same as any child is. Like, um,
So this is exactly what I think. Like the end goal um, of vegetarianism is, because I think realistically in the future it's not going to be veganism. I think in the future vegetarianism will be morally equivalent to veganism if we extend a certain amount of rights to animals. Um,
would you mind
but at the
explaining the
moment,
difference between the two?
well, in veganism you don't use any animal products whatsoever. In vegetarianism, you just don't eat meat. You still use, their products. Like you can eat eggs and stuff.
Okay.
But like I feel like in the future, what I think is that vegetarianism will be morally equivalent to veganism because we will extend more rights to animals.
And why is that? Why would we extend these right to?
Well,
Mhm.
like it was like what you were saying. We should only we should to someone who's mentally disabled, we should only extend. They have the right to life, um, but they don't have all of these other rights. So I think in the future, in what I think is going to happen, most people will have the moral system that animals do deserve the right to life because like even if you believe that like a lot of people believe that animals are inferior and that we should just slaughter them, keep them in cages, and then when we don't care for them anymore we should just slaughter them. But I feel like in the end game, uh, the principle that the animals shouldn't be just slaughtered, just like someone who's mentally disabled shouldn't just be slaughtered. They should be extended a certain amount of rights.
Are you um would you say that a fetus is should be afforded rights as well?
What do you mean? I believe. Oh, oh. No, not necessarily. If the person is unable to take care of it, then definitely not.
So wouldn't that be the same with an animal? If a person's not able to take care of it, then we should probably discard it.
No, you just someone else who can take care of it. Like we have systems in place that already do that.
We have systems in place for, like, we have adoption centers, we have foster homes.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we afford the same to fetuses or to unborn humans?
I'm confused. Uh, so abortions and animals that are already alive is what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm saying something that is unable to um, reciprocate any sort of moral values or unable to act within society, but you afford those sorts of beings personhood and rights. And I'm asking,
Mm-hmm.
why wouldn't you do the same with an unborn fetus if you're willing to do so with animals?
Well, that's mainly because the animal is already alive and we have systems in place to put them somewhere else. And for the baby, that's just like it's just going to go into it's going to live, a not, incredible childhood. It might live a decent adulthood, but, a child's not necessarily consenting to live in a foster home for the first, how many ever years of their life. I'm not going full antinatalist, but that's definitely not something you want to just let a child have happen to them.
So what do you mean when you say the animal is already alive? What do you mean by that? Like, how could you differentiate an animal already being alive versus a fetus being alive?
Because one's alive and one has no consciousness.
So I guess like after about 3 weeks, I believe it might. Well, no, I think it's 6 or 7 weeks. So about 6 or 7 weeks, a fetus gains consciousness. At that point,
Sure.
would you afford it personhood?
Uh, so I don't know the semantics of this. Like, it's just such a fine line. To be honest, I don't really care how long it's in the womb. I don't really care when they gain consciousness. Like, it's like they don't feel anything. It's just so bizarre to me. I don't really care. Like, kill a baby right when it's about to come out. But that's just my opinion.
Yeah, but I'm not understanding how you draw the line. Like how you're where like it seems as though everything that you're saying should apply to a fetus. Yet you're only applying it to animals and it's
Why
starting
would
to
I apply it? But why would I apply it to a fetus?
I'm not understanding why you would apply it to animals. They You're saying that because it's not alive. Well, okay, so once it's alive, do you afford the fetus moral culpability? No.
Because if it be,
Once it
because if it's alive, if the fetus comes out and it lives like how many other years in foster care, like whatever. And I don't understand the point of that. When if an animal is alive, then we can just send it to a facility that already exists. We have systems in place that take care of it. And it, but if you're saying like in general, I don't extend it. I don't necessarily support abortion in every case. If that's what you're trying to get at.
But you just said that you would support abortion right before it came out, like right
Yeah,
before birth.
yeah, for certain cases, not like it's because like the abortion rules in general just kind of ridiculous to me. It's still in the womb, you know. It's still
Yeah.
part of the mother.
So I'm not trying to convince you to be pro-life. I'm pointing out that it seems as though you apply these standards arbitrarily. You're going to apply them to animals, but you're not going to apply the same exact standards to a fetus. And it doesn't sound as though, like you say, like I just don't care, or it's just like, we have systems for this or what. But it doesn't sound as though you're. Um, it doesn't
Yeah,
sound.
because well, like I said, because one is alive.
But the fetus is also alive. Like after like 6 weeks, it's depending on how you would define life. Like science definitely defines life a lot earlier than 6 weeks. Like, but um,
It's out of the womb. How about that? It has a consciousness. Well, like I guess it has the fetus has a conscience apparently, but I don't know. It's
okay. So say there's a dog
mm-hmm.
and it is running around biting people and even like killing people. Um, am I allowed to kill this dog in self-defense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, in general, it doesn't seem as though dogs have any sort of sets of morals. It doesn't seem as though they act within social standards. It seems as though we train them in certain ways to act in certain ways. Um, so there's not really a way for them to be afforded any sort of personhood when they can't act as a person within society, right?
Uh, Depends what you mean by personhood. If you mean like the right to live, but yeah, I don't believe dogs are people.
So I I guess I still don't feel as though I understand why we would afford them any sort of rights then. If we don't consider them people, if we don't think that they act as moral agents if we're
So let's say here's an analogy. Let's say there are um, aliens that come to Earth and they have, far superior morals to us. Would they be able to, hunt us down, keep us in cages, slaughter us, force us to reproduce?
I don't see why they wouldn't.
Probably because they'd be morally superior and because they would find it ridiculous, but and they would extend the right to life to us. But I don't know.
So you think like us being um let's
Okay, do
see.
you think if NASA found life on a different planet, but and they were, thriving but they were still subhuman and they had less morals than us, do you think they would honestly hunt them down?
I Depending on whether or not it was necessary, I suppose. Like
It's
for
not necessary for us to kill cows or chickens. We can entire population can survive
we can
off of
survive,
non-animal products.
but
What?
but it's more beneficial to get our lots of nutrients and like proteins through animals.
Where do you think the proteins from animals comes from?
What what do you mean? Like it comes from vegetables that they eat sometimes. Sometimes if they're purely carnivores, then it comes from other animals.
So we eat only herbivores for the most part. Some cultures do eat like omnivores, but for the most part, we only eat herbivores.
Uh-huh. And
So it's not extremely beneficial.
wait, I'm not understanding. You're saying what I get what you're saying, but the way that our bodies process protein is it is a lot more beneficial to uh eat it in meat than it would be to eat it in vegetables. Like we can still get a lot of protein from vegetables, but it doesn't process the same in our bodies as it does when we eat meat.
Okay. I still don't eat. That's great, but there's still, plenty of sources of protein that we can survive off of, was my point.
Yeah, I don't disagree with that. My only point was to say that like there are
Yeah,
benefits.
yeah.
It can be beneficial um to eat meat. And I don't I just don't see a reason why, like, so it doesn't seem as though, like, within society, I think that like if I kill somebody, there will be a group of people that will miss them. There might be people that like, depended on them financially or emotionally. um but I don't think that happens with animals. I don't think that they like
Well,
depend
what
on each
about
other in
someone
the same way.
who what about someone who lives in like a third world country who lives off the family goat? Like they use them like they have multiple family goats and they use that to survive and they're emotionally attached to it.
Hmm. Yeah, that's their property. I wouldn't go around like eating random people's dogs and cats, but I'm not against eating dogs and cats.
Okay. Well, I feel like most people would not be able to, sympathize with this. But so in general, you think most people would be hypocritical and should go vegan.
Say that again?
You think in general most people are hypocrites and should go vegan because many people don't believe in eating dogs and cats.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like I think that most people, if they say they have a problem with like factory farming or something like that, but then continue to go eat at McDonald's and Burger King and Wendy's, yeah, I think they're all hypocrites for sure. I think that they all
Okay.
just want to feel good about themselves, but in reality, they don't really care about it. They just want to pretend like they care about it for, you know, whatever reason. But yeah, they're
So, what do you think of the environmental impacts?
for environmental reasons. I definitely think that uh, we should find better ways to process meat and to gather meat and things like that.
So, now you would say it's hypocritical to support the meat industry if you believe um, in helping the environment,
Um,
because stopping at just recycling and buying a reusable straw off Amazon isn't necessarily too much. I feel like that's kind of hypocritical to still support the meat industry.
yeah, it's not the it's a little bit different though because I think that people um, are against factory farming because they do apply some sort of like moral standard when it comes to animals. I think that they do, but we don't do that for the earth. Like we just want to save the earth for our own benefit, and therefore we just need to fix things in time before we've gone too far. It's not
Well,
as
it's
much
still
of
a question of morality because it's affecting the people in the future. It's not going to affect me that much.
correct. So yeah, we want to
So
fix it.
it's not egoist at all. It's a complete question of morality.
I'm not saying that I'm saying that it is a question of morality at some point, but it's a question of morality as to whether or not we get to a point where we can't survive past like or where we've messed up the environment too much, right? Like that's when it's gone too far. That's when we've truly damaged the environment to in a way to where it'll seriously affect people in the future. But we can have factory farming for a while longer and integrate into something new in the meantime without there being anything immoral done to people in the future. Just the same as like with any other sort of factory. Like, I still wear t-shirts, I still wear clothes, I still buy gasoline and put it in my car. Like all of these things still seem necessary, but as long as we can fix it in time, it's I wouldn't say it's immoral.
Well, it's pretty much past time anyway, and it's like this is prime time to protest, but and veganism is a protest to all of those industries.
Like I yeah, I think that so within veganism, can you go catch your own chicken, go catch a wild chicken and kill it and eat it?
No.
So it doesn't have all that much to do with those industries. It has more to do
That's
with
well,
the
that's a
animals
part of it.
itself.
Well, that's just like a lot. That's a large part of it. There's another large part of it, which is the morality of eating animals.
It seems as though it's only the morality of eating animals, and then you're able to add these other things on top to
Well, a lot
say
of
these
people
are also
did.
benefits from it.
Yeah, a lot of people go vegan for the environment. A lot of people go vegan for just the health benefits. Like, there's many reasons. I personally went for the morality of, not eating animals.
Let's see. 6 science-based health benefits of eating vegan. A vegan diet is richer in certain nutrients. It can help you lose excess weight. It appears to lower blood sugar levels and improve kidney function. A vegan diet may protect against certain cancers. It's linked to a lower risk of heart disease. A vegan diet can reduce pain from arthritis. Oh, yeah, I did hear about that. I think, isn't that something like, what was his name? Jordan Peterson did? Was he, no, he ate all meat for his arthritis. That's right. He went the other direction.
That sounds ridiculous.
So yeah, okay. So there is an environmental benefit to it. Um,
An environmental benefit, a health benefit, and a morality benefit.
let's see.
Well, a morality benefit, in my opinion, I guess. Well, a morality benefit to you as well, since you care about the environment.
I mean, it's it seems as though eating meat has a lot of health benefits as well, though. Reduced
Uh,
appetite and
Not
increased
necessarily. It's just like
metabolism.
it's pretty much just easier. That's pretty much the only benefit. Like people, like vegans typically can like become anemic because they don't get enough iron because they don't portion correctly. They don't eat enough throughout the day. That's pretty much the only benefit that I know
Yeah, they can't
of not
just
being a
eat like
vegan. If you
3 or 4 meals a day. They have to eat like constantly throughout the day, right?
no, I eat 3 meals a day, but to get a lot of iron. But you can't just uh, you know uh, you have to make sure you're getting enough iron throughout the day, which is something a lot of vegans don't do, but also something that a lot of meat eaters don't do. Like for example, someone who just doesn't like fish won't get their omega 3s for their entire life. So it's not necessarily like a good point for meat eaters because none of them measure their nutrients, but
Yeah, I suppose. Like it I think that with most meat eaters, they don't necessarily have to measure their like the nutrient
uh,
intake or the protein intake because they get a higher rate of those things from eating meat.
that's true. But a lot of them don't get it checked.
Don't get what checked.
Like they don't get blood work. They don't see if they're anemic or not.
Hmm.
Like I've never heard of a meat eater going to check and see if they're anemic. And most meat eaters or most vegans like just completely avoid that checkup anyway because they try to get as much iron as possible. Plus, you can just supplement iron in the first place.
Yeah, it's what somebody just put in the chat that you can get supplements instead of meat. Um, but it's like, okay, so what was the, where was it? So yeah, reduced appetite, meaning like it fills you up faster. They are all meat diets are high protein diets and increase metabolism. They reduce hunger, meaning like you eat less at less meals and less in each meal, and like stronger bones, retention of muscle mass, better iron absorption. So yeah, there's a long list of benefits from eating meat as well.
Oh, what? Oh, can you link it? I was looking at my phone.
Yeah. Let's see.
Yeah, there's definitely benefits of eating meat. Like,
I'll put it in my. You're in my Discord, yeah. I'll put it in the general chat.
there's benefits to eating meat, but there's benefits to being vegan. So,
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Is it
uh,
what you're saying? There's benefits to being vegan, so I'm only saying yeah. There's lots of benefits to eating meat as well.
well, so I don't know. I just feel if we find a solution to, you know, like mass incarcerating these animals and um, find a way for them not to damage the environment, then I guess I understand your view, but I feel like most, like 99% of people will not sympathize with it. And then, like, where does that leave you?
I think they do. I think they just don't have like a clear idea of what it is that they're upset about. I think that like lots of people like cats and they like dogs and they think that bunny rabbits are cute. So therefore, they don't think that, we should be mean to them. When in reality, like they don't have any real reason behind it. It's not like they have like morality. They couldn't explain some sort of moral reasoning behind why they don't think we should be mean or treat them poorly or torture them. I think that they just think it's weird, and like there's not. I think that if we actually, and I've had these conversations with people numerous times, kind of explaining that, like, I think they're hypocritical if they ever eat meat from like fast food, yet they think that factory farming is immoral, they're they're completely hypocritical, and absolutely none of them ever admit that. Like they'll never admit it, um, because they don't think of it in that way.
Yeah, it's just kind of like bizarre to me when so many people think that way, that we would regress rather than progress. But I guess that's just because of my viewpoint. Like, it's just progressing towards a healthier planet, benefiting other species. But yeah, I understand what you're saying.
But I was more interested, I suppose, in like the idea of animals having rights. Um,
Yeah.
like the way that I think of rights is like, and laws and all of these things, is the only reason that we have them, the only reason that we have morals is because without them we couldn't have a society, right? Like we couldn't, um like killing is not objectively wrong. Nobody can explain why I can't kill you right now or why it's bad, outside of the fact that like if we just let everybody run around killing each other, then we couldn't have a society whatsoever. If like half the people don't show up to work tomorrow, we've got a problem. So we have to set in place rules, for all of us to get along, with each other, and so that we can all be around each other consistently without there being any huge hiccups within society.
Well, that's not the only reason. The only that, like, it's because if I killed you, that would probably make other people very unhappy. That's just
Yeah, this is part of
I
existing
operate
within
from a
society.
utility. Well, I operate from like a utilitarian perspective, I suppose, and like that would do absolutely no good.
Yeah, this is
You
this is
should.
mostly a rule utilitarian perspective as well. And so the only reason that we do these things is to make sure that we can have a society. And if um somebody can't just go like kill the
That's
president
not
tomorrow.
the. Yeah, but that's not the only reason.
What do
But
you
you
mean?
think that's the only reason?
That is like the idea behind utilitarianism, is to do what's best for society or for the greatest amount of people within society. Like that is the entire idea of
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
utilitarianism. And animals do not
But you
exist
think
within
there's.
society. So they just
Do you
like
think there's no morality behind that? Like you can do what you can just do anything immoral as long as it benefits society.
I'm saying that that is what moral what morality is.
What?
Like that when
Oh,
you say
okay.
utilitarianism, you're saying like this is what benefits society most, or the most people within society. That is utilitarianism.
Right.
So animals do not exist within society. Therefore, there's no reason for morality to apply to them. Like when you
What
say
if
like
they?
we should be better than that or something like that, like I don't understand what's better about it if it doesn't improve society and um
How would they
outs
not exist in society if we're using their products? We're using their utility to better society.
they're used as a tool for society. It doesn't mean
Just like
like
we're used as a tool for society.
no, we are society though. Like cars are used as a tool within society, but cars are not society.
I
Do
think
you,
animals can be a part of a society
they might
because
be part of an animal society, but not our society.
they use their utility to further our society. Like the analogy I gave earlier, humans use like our utility in tech, like maybe like the form of taxes. We use that to better society. Like animals can use their products. Like I was saying earlier, how the future of vegetarianism, they use their products. If we extend them the right to life, we use their products to benefit society.
Right? I'm not understanding the point. Like what's the contention there? We use animals to benefit society. I agree.
So they should be considered a part of society.
I I don't I
Yeah,
don't know how you can make that
this
argument.
is
Like
this
it's
is a
the same
this
with
is
cars. Like are cars part of society?
no, they're not. But they're not. They don't have life alive. This is like away from the morality point
It
of killing animals, but
it's not what you're explaining as morality is what benefits society. That is what your morality is. You just said you're a utilitarianist. Like that is that is what you're saying. And what benefits society does not include animals. Or sorry, what society is does not include animals because they're not part. They can't interact within society. They can be used as a tool to benefit society, but they cannot interact within society.
there's a statistic here. Wait, dogs in general make people happier than other humans.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're trying to maximize happiness, why would we not grant them the right to life in general if we're trying to maximize happiness within a society?
We can maximize happiness as long as there are dogs around. I'm not saying kill all the dogs and get rid of all of them.
Okay.
Like, within this argument, we can say, like, dogfighting is therefore good because it maximizes happiness for some humans. Like, no, that's not. That's you wouldn't make that argument. Like, I personally think that somebody who enjoys watching anyone or anything suffer in pain probably has some screws loose because we're like, empathy is supposed to be ingrained within us. So, especially animals that can show, they have like eyes or body language that can show some sort of emotion. I think that you probably have some problems if you enjoy that sort of thing. So I would argue against like, um, the dog fighting being an acceptable thing within society. But I I wouldn't then say that like therefore we should just never kill any dogs or animals. I would say we shouldn't torture dogs or animals.
Okay. Hmm.
Like it seems as though from a utilitarian aspect, eating dogs and animals are best is what's best for the most amount of people. So, uh, or is a good for the most amount of people. So we should allow dogs or animals. I don't know why I keep saying dogs and animals. Why we should allow animals to be eaten by society.
I don't agree that it like I just don't agree that it creates the most good. That's yeah, I guess
It may not create the most good, but it creates good for a lot of people within society.
uh it probably does in like an unwealthy society like uh,
True.
maybe like a society that isn't completely modern, maybe it's just like United States centuries ago, but
True. But like if we so is it only immoral within a society that has like enough money to buy really expensive vegan products and vegetarian products?
oh yeah, I wouldn't consider like someone in a third world country who has to, hunt or live, like I said, live off the family goat. I wouldn't consider that them to be a bad person or immoral. Um,
But why not?
I
Like
like
I think if
people in a
somebody
modern society, but
I think somebody who's poor who wants to go rob from a bunch of other people, I would still say that's immoral. I don't think that like only because I believe that those other people should have individual rights. And I don't see how you can change what is moral, or whether not what's moral, whether or not these animals have rights based on whether or not you're poor or rich. Like all of a sudden you're poor and now the animals don't have rights anymore.
Well, I think because we're basically in a modern society where we're I think we're like above the food chain or whatever they may call it. If you as a person need to survive by killing animals, then I don't necessarily think I still think it's bad, but if you need to do that to survive, then I don't necessarily think you're a bad person.
I'm sorry, in the chat, Girly Bear. I don't understand why you think just because dogs and cats have been domesticated, why that means they shouldn't be eaten. Like, I don't know what one has to do with the other. Why, just because they've been domesticated, why does that mean that they shouldn't be eaten all of a sudden? How do you connect those two dots? Sorry. It's
You're
just
good.
said it like twice now, and I don't, or maybe three times. Yeah, three times. I don't understand that argument. Um,
Oh, you're good. I actually gotta go study for an exam.
okay. Yeah, I appreciate you
Yeah,
coming on and chatting. Um,
yeah, it was nice talking to you.
yeah, if there's anything else, you can feel free to hit me up later. I normally I've I'm currently banned off of Twitch, so I'm just
Oh,
trying to keep
okay,
my schedule right now, but normally there's there's a much bigger audience just right now. I think we have 6 on YouTube, 8 on Facebook. So, yeah, it's we're
okay,
slumming it right now. But all right, man. Appreciate it.
okay, cool. Later.
Later. Okay. There's nothing wrong with acknowledging or taking part in the circle of life, but I do think factory farming is awful. Also, I won't eat cats, but that's a personal thing. Might eat dog, never have though. Yeah, I've never eaten a dog or a cat. I'm not against it. I believe it's illegal in the state that I live in, but I'm not against eating dogs or cats, and I don't think there's anything wrong with it. And I don't understand why just because um a dog or a cat has been domesticated, why that would all of a sudden mean that I'm not supposed to eat it. Like, does a dog or a cat being domesticated mean that they now have like human rights? I'm not against a bear eating a human either. Yeah, me neither. Like, that's what I'm saying. We're at the top of the food chain, guys. Like, we should be eating anything and everything we can. Now, as a Christian, I would normally just make the argument that God put animals here for our benefit. But when I'm talking to other people that likely don't believe in God, I can't make that argument because there's that doesn't they're gonna be like, well, I don't believe in God, so therefore you're wrong. And like, if that's the case, then I'm just arguing with them the entire time on whether or not God exists. Okay, there we go. Now the chat's working. Baby baby. Alright. That I enjoyed that conversation. I I felt like every time I made a point to say like, well, actually, your morality doesn't apply to this thing. I don't feel as though his answers afterwards were sufficient. Like, why, when he would explain like why he applies rights to animals, and then I'd ask, okay, so then why don't you apply rights to fetuses? I didn't feel as though his answer made sense. Just don't eat bats. Yeah, true. Did you read my point that vegan diets never existed prior to supplements and fortified food? Yeah. Yeah, I read that. I mean, they kind of existed. So like I wouldn't say that I wouldn't say I don't know that like a purely vegan diet ever existed. Yeah. I think that Girly Bear, why are you yelling at me? I did absolutely nothing to you. Why are you yelling at me right now? You have to have B12 to survive. It's only available natural in animal meat. Yeah, you can take B12 vitamins, but humans process B12 and proteins a lot better from animals than we do from vitamins or from I will say vegans are the only ones that should be able to partake in cancel culture. They're the only ones capable of being moral absolutists. Yeah, I Destiny was talking about this on my panel, saying that like, well, one day, um, since Eminem's being canceled now and Dr. Seuss is being canceled now, one day all of us are going to be canceled for eating meat. That's my point. If you lived isolated from a grocery store, you couldn't survive on a vegan diet. Um, yeah, yeah, that's probably true. I think that you could survive, but you would have a lot of problems. Like, you would have a lot of joint problems. You would have a lot of problems, like staying active. And yeah, you would have a lot of issues there.